Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. Bobby Hammz here with my review of The Mandalorian episodes 4 and 5. Both of these were still under 40 minutes long, which I'm not even going to bother mentioning anymore because we're more than halfway through the season. So if they were going to make them any longer, they would have done so by now. So no more of that. Episode 4 opened up with a scene of a village being attacked by some bipedal alien thugs. No name, nondescript. They were just alien thugs, and they were bipedal, so that made them even doubly worse. I thought it was a flashback scene to DeLorean's origin story, but it wasn't. The mother holding the baby was not DeLorean's mother. It looked way different. The setting was way different. Everything was way different. Now, it was just a quick way of setting up the history of this village's plight and the episode's plot all in one, to a minute or so demonstration. From episode 3, DeLorean was actually searching for a place to hide, found this planet, and he didn't see any sign of civilization, no kind of radio communication or whatever it was he was looking for. He didn't see it there. So he considered it good cover and decided to land there. Now, when he's on the planet, he goes into this bar, I think it might have been looking for work, and he sees Gina Carano just kind of sitting there by herself in the corner, suspiciously, of course. Sitting suspiciously is the worst way to sit when you're in a bar. So he tracks her down and they fight, and she really kind of practically whoops his ass. But the appearance of Yodelay staring at them kind of forces them to stop because, of course, Yodelay is the cutest peacemaker in the galaxy. Now, they talk, and she thought that he was there tracking her, but he thought that she was there tracking him. So just a happy misunderstanding, because it turns out that she used to work for the Empire, but once the Empire crumbled, all those pieces that the Empire was built on, those people came after her. So she went into hiding. Wait a minute, the crumbled pieces came after her? That doesn't make any sense. Anyway, she's hiding out on the planet and calls dibs and says, this is my place, hit the road. So DeLorean is like, you know what? Okay, fine. But while he's leaving and packing up his ship, some villagers approach him and they're like, hey dude, can we hire you to help us out? He's like, nah, son, I got no time for that. I gotta be out. And so he initially refuses them his help until they tell him, yeah, our village is way out in the middle of nothing, out in the sticks. And he's like, wait a minute, your village is out in the sticks? And so he agrees because, of course, his main thing right now is looking for somewhere to hide. He's looking for cover. So he asks Carano for help, if she'll help him, do this job. And she's like, nah, I'm kind of just hiding out here. I don't want to attract any attention to myself. And so he's like, well, I'll give you the money that they were going to give me. So she's like, okay, fine. It was kind of it was sort of a Seven Samurai scenario with this episode, in that the Seven Samurai were a classic movie, of course. And it was about this village that hired the 7 Ronin. They were samurai that didn't have any lords, and the samurai defended this village against these bandits. That's kind of what it was with this episode also. So when Carano and DeLorean team up to defend this village. But because the village itself is woefully just outgunned and outmatched against these bandits who have a walker and just superior firepower, the villagers have no weapons that can deal with any of this. Basic pitchforks and shovels and all that stuff, kind of basic stuff that most villagers have in most entertainment shows. But they are determined to fight, and DeLorean and Carano draw up battle plans in order to, get them prepared. Now, during this whole segment of the show, I have no clue of how much time had passed because the sun never set, but there's showing scenes of the villagers learning to shoot. And actually the mother from the beginning, from the opening scene, she's the best shot of them all. How? Who cares? But yeah, they're learning to shoot, and they're showing examples of hand-to-hand combat and how DeLorean and Carano are going over the plans with them. And so, but the sun never sets, and there aren't any, I don't remember seeing any fades. So I was like, okay, I guess they all learned all that in one day. Sure. Fine. We'll go with that. So anyway, while all that's going on, DeLorean befriended that mother from the opening scene, and her daughter, I believe it was her daughter. I think it was her daughter. And the other kids in the village took a very good liking to Yodelay. And of course, Yodelay took a very liking to them too. There's a cute little scene. All of Yodelay's scenes are cute. Let's just say that, let's just get that out of the way. So there's a cute little scene of Yodelay where he ate a frog, which is a callback to, I believe, episode 2. where he ate a frog in front of DeLorean but didn't care. And in this one, he eats the frog. I gotta say he, but it eats the frog, and the kids are kind of like, ew. So, you know, children don't like to have other children call them out on stuff. So Yodele spits the frog back out. And I was like, you're eating live frogs, but you're still so cute. So it was all very heartwarming stuff, seeing the kids play with Yodele. And it was obvious that the mother wanted DeLorean to stay with them. You know, it was so obvious. So anyway, it moves on, and they set the attack plan into action. They draw the bandits out from their hiding spot. And this walker thing, this huge mechanical, 50-meter tall machine Gundam thing, obviously could have wiped them all out very, very quickly. But the plan that they put into action and they drew up worked, and it was through sheer just determination and teamwork. They managed to take it down and scared off the bandits. So, not quite the Seven Samurai, but you take what you can get. But after that, again, the passage of time seems to be neglected. I don't know if it's on purpose, but because after that victory with the walker and the bandits, it seemed like in the very next scene, DeLorean was talking about something like they've been there for 6 weeks. I was like, okay, sure. No 6 weeks later, on the screen or nothing like that. It's just, yeah, we've been here 6 weeks. Want to thank you. I was like, all right, man, sure. We'll say 6 weeks then. 6 weeks, fine, no problem. And so Carano tells DeLorean, hey, she digs you, right? Just go ahead and tell her you want to stay. You should definitely just stay here. And he even says that Yodele seems to enjoy being around the children, which again, so cute. And so DeLorean goes to talk with the mother, but as he's talking to her, someone is looking at Yodele through a scope. And I'm like, uh-oh, danger. But before the bounty hunter can take the shot, Carano shoots him in the back. So I was like, wait a minute. Did she already know that he was there? Because if she didn't, then how the hell did she find him so fast? Or did she just tell DeLorean, hey, go talk to the mother? And then he took so long to get to the mother that in that time span, Carano was able to get up and walk around the entire forest or the entire perimeter and just saw the glint of this guy's scope? Or was this guy just so terribly hidden that anyone could see them? Anyone could see him from wherever. It's like, who cares? Don't ask silly questions. Just watch the show. It's like, all right, fine. Plot convenience, whatever, Once that happens, of course, everyone hears the gunshot go off, and it's, of course, Carano killing the guy. So DeLorean, discovers that the guy has a fob on him because he's still being tracked by the guild. So he's clearly bummed that he can't stay on the planet and that Yodele can't stay. So it's like, oh, that's kind of sad. And I think, that's kind of where the episode ended. They said their goodbyes to the villagers, and then Yodele seemed kind of bummed also, even though he's so cute, too cute to be bummed, but Yodele was definitely bummed out about having to go. And so they leave, and that's kind of the end of the episode. And the episode itself had, some moments where I could feel that it was backsliding to the pacing, the dreadfully slow pacing of episodes 1 and 2. And it never quite got there, so that was a definite plus. And as far as the story goes for this, it seemed more like a side quest, not part of the main story. However, I still don't know where the main story is going, so maybe it is part of the main story. We'll find out, I guess, later on. Maybe this stop at this planet will be a future payoff in some big way. There's no hints as to where this thing is going at all still. 4 episodes in, there's still no hints as to where the story is going. Not a good look, by the way. But there was another thing that played into this episode, was that I guess people were concerned. They didn't know if the helmet actually ever came off of DeLorean's head. And it seemed like obviously it had to come off his head. He wasn't born with it. So, and DeLorean seems like a very capable person, grown-up person, who I imagine knows how to feed and take care of himself. So the helmet has to come off if he wants to eat and drink, to stay alive. But people seem to thought that the helmet never came off, and they were wondering, like, how does he eat? How does he sleep? It's like, yeah, he's got to take the helmet off at some point. Maybe he doesn't take it off in public, but he's got to come off. He's got to eat. Like, there's no feeding tube or nothing connected to the thing. So, but anyway, this episode seemed to have to explicitly say, yes, he does take his helmet off in order to eat food and drink fluids. And it just seemed like kind of a obvious thing, but who knows? So that's where the episode ended. It was decent, not much story there. Everything looked okay. Like I said, the pacing wasn't as bad as 1 and 2, but it definitely wasn't as good as episode 3 was. And the story itself was very, very light. You know, basically it was Delorean and Carano team up to help some villagers fight off some bad guys. The end. That was the whole thing. So episode 5 started off with a much better bang. It was a very cinematic space chase where Delorean was being hunted by another bounty hunter, you know, trying to get that paper. So the ship gets very damaged throughout this little tussle, this little scuffle, and the hunter decides to use one of DeLorean's lines. I guess is I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold, which I believe is what he said in episode 1 when he was at that bar. When we first meet him, he said that to that blue guy. And so DeLorean gets the hunter in its sights, blows him up, and then says, you know, that's my line, which I thought was like, okay, all right, good start. Now the ship drifted for a little bit because of the damage caused by the other bounty hunter, but DeLorean is able to get the backup power going, and they head down to a planet that's suddenly within reach, and it's suddenly there on screen. Now maybe it was there the whole time and I didn't see it, but it seemed a little bit convenient that, you know, as he's drifting along, the planet just kind of pops up out of nowhere like a magic trick. But okay, whatever. Don't need to see every little second of everything that happens all the time. So during that, while he's drifting through space for a little bit, I thought that the episode was going to be about DeLorean and Yodelay having to survive in space, you know, hobbling along on reserve power, you know, looking for somewhere to land, you know, a moon, an asteroid, something, you know, because to me, being stranded in space, that's got to be one of the most terrifying things that I can imagine. So I thought that's where the episode was going to go. And it's going to be like this episode of Star Trek Voyager, where their ship got damaged and they basically had to fight off or convince potential attackers not to attack them in order to survive. And it was a pretty cool episode. I think that was the Year of Hell episode, but I'm not too sure. It was a pretty interesting episode nonetheless. And I thought that's where this episode was going to go, but that's not where it happened. DeLorean actually does land on this planet, and he meets Amy Sedaris from Strangers with Candy. Amy Sedaris, you know, one of my favorite actors. And she tells him all kinds of things are wrong with his ship. And when she's going through this list of things, and she's finding things left and right, and I was like, I started thinking like she's maybe one of those shady mechanics that you might meet in real life, where you take your vehicle in for a noisy fan belt, you know, or maybe your check engine light, and suddenly you need like a new transmission, you know, AC compressor, your headliner is bad, you need some tail light fluid, and you got to get the undercoating. You cannot leave without getting the undercoating. You know, that's what I thought her deal was with this list of things she was finding wrong with the ship. But it turned out she was actually a legit mechanic, and DeLorean was like, yeah, you know, just fix it up, I'll get you your money. And meanwhile, DeLorean had left Yodelay napping on the ship, so that's going to come into play a little bit. And so he goes looking for work at another bar, which I guess bars are the place to find work in Star Wars universes. You don't go to an employment agency. You just go to bars. There's no Craigslist in Star Wars. You just go to bars, and you know that's how you find work. And so he goes looking for work because, you know, mechanics aren't free. They may be shady, but they aren't free. And he sees helmets of the stormtroopers on his way there. They're on spikes. Now, I'd like to think that they were gruesome at first, but then I was like, they're probably just helmets. There aren't actually any heads in there because this is Disney. So it's Disney gruesome that the helmets are there on spikes and there's no like blood or nothing running down. So he's in this bar, he's asking for work, and the droid's like, nah, I never heard of work. There's no work here to be found. And DeLorean meets a wannabe bounty hunter who's named Toro, and Toro just kind of casually says that, yeah, we're on Tatooine. And honestly, it was the first name of a place that I recognized. No, please, that's not necessary. You know, I had to get there eventually. But thank you. Much appreciated. So Toro wants to be in the guild very, very badly. He's very, very thirsty for it. But he needs DeLorean's help in capturing like a dangerous assassin named Fennec Shand. And Fennec Shand is a dangerous assassin. That's all there is to it with the setup for that character. She's just a dangerous assassin, and that's all her backstory is. Really, really kind of a wasted character. Anyway, DeLorean warns Toro of the danger, but he reluctantly agrees because, again, DeLorean needs the money because mechanics aren't free. So Toro gets them these hover bikes, which look really cool the way they're floating there. And it reminded me of the pod racing from episode 1, the movie episode 1. And so they work together and they go through this desert. It struck me while he was walking to the bar. It says, like, Tatooine is just another sandy, brown or tan in this scenario, in this case, tan location that's just like all the other brown and sandy and tan locations he's been in so far. So that hasn't gotten any better. So, just wanted to bring that up. So they're driving through this desert on these hover bikes, and they run into, I don't know, some locals, barter for their passage through their land, blah blah blah. And they end up finding this guy being dragged along by the animal that DeLorean learned to ride in like 2 seconds from episode 2. I don't know what it's called, the Duggar or the Googer, whatever it is. And it's dragging this guy along, and it's basically a trap set up by Fennec. And DeLorean gets hit by a sniper shot from far range. They can't see where she is, of course, because she's hidden. She's a sniper, so they can't see where she is, where Fennec is. It's during this time we get some really good banter between DeLorean and Toro, because DeLorean's like, yeah, I was hit, but my best car armor, is pretty good at this range, so it wasn't damaged. And then Toro's like, yeah, but I'm not wearing any armor. And DeLorean's like, no, you're not. So it's very like a Batman kind of just dry humor response. We're like, yeah, you aren't wearing, are you? There's no judgment involved in it. I'm not mocking you. It's just like, yeah, you aren't, which was not very smart. If you want to be a bounty hunter, walking around with no armor, you're not very good at your job. So they wait till nightfall to make their approach, and they do use this cool thing where it's like these flashbangs that go off in the midair in order to blind Fennec's night vision for temporarily. And both of them, Toro and DeLorean, they end up getting to her, and Toro gets to her first, and she whoops his ass handily. So just if you didn't think so before then, during this encounter with Fennec, you can see that Toro is definitely not made to be a bounty hunter. That he should just go look for another line of work, because she handed him his ass, and it's not a job for him. He needs to go somewhere else. Go try to be a bartender. Okay. So DeLorean eventually gets a drop on her, and they get her cuffed. And while they were actually sneaking up on her, she was able to shoot DeLorean's hover bike, so it's damaged. Now it's just 3 people, 1 motorbike, or 1 hover bike, right? And so because Toro is like paranoid that DeLorean will take off with Fennec and just get his money, DeLorean's like, you know what? You stay here with her, and I'll go find the animal, the Duggar, the Boogar, whatever that thing is called, and then come back. And so while DeLorean is gone, Fennec gets to talking to Toro, and there's this cool scene of them sitting there, and really nice shot. And Fennec tells Toro about DeLorean's betrayal, and then she offers him money, and it's like, hey, I'll pay you double if you let me go. And it's obvious that Toro is not interested in money. His whole thing is reputation. So Fennec picks up on that and is like, hey, he did that. So if you bring him in instead, you'll be legendary. You'll be legend. You'll be epic in the guild's eyes if you bring in this traitor. And so Toro approaches her and is like, you know what? And it makes it look like he's gonna release her from the handcuffs, and then he blasts her in the belly. Prior to all this, Yodelay had woken up and left and started walking down the ship's ramp, and that's where Sedaris saw it and like picked it up and just kind of was like, well, since I have to watch you now and fix this ship, DeLorean's gonna have to pay me just a little bit more. Now I'm thankful that her character treated Yodelay like a mother would treat a baby, and be like, I can't believe he left you on this ship by yourself. And she seemed very upset with DeLorean for doing that. So I like that part about the episode. And so back to, I guess, the main story. DeLorean gets back to where he left Fennec and Toro, and he sees Fennec's dead body on the ground, and it's like, something is afoot. So he heads back to Amy's place, and predictably enough, Toro has her and Yodelay hostage, and it's like, yeah, if I bring you in, I'm going to be epic. I'm going to be a legend. And so, of course, DeLorean makes quick work of Toro. It wasn't even a challenge. Like, there was no suspense there whatsoever. It it was just so obvious. It was a foregone conclusion the minute DeLorean walked through the door. So Toro was holding Yodelay in his hand, and so when he got shot, Yodelay kind of disappeared for a brief second, and it ended up that Yodelay was hiding behind some crates. Now, Amy was very concerned. I mean, she and DeLorean were very concerned about him, but I was more concerned about Yodelay's mental health, because this little guy has seen so much violence at this point that I'm almost certain that the shootouts are taking a toll on its psyche. Okay, Yodelay needs therapy. Okay, or else he's definitely going to become the villain of the story. There's no doubt about it. Yodelay has seen too much gunfights and spaceships getting blasted at and people fighting. It's just too much. It's just too much. Anyway, DeLorean uses candy to pay Amy off for the repairs. I had to work that in there somehow, because I love that show, so I had to work that in there somehow. Of course not. He pays off Amy with Toro's money, since Toro won't be needing it anymore. And then she tells her droids to go bury Toro's dead carcass in the giant kitty litter box that she has out back. Now you might ask, why kitty litter? Because Amy is also Princess Caroline. That's why. Of course not. Of course not. But the droids do dump his body in a canyon, mafia style. At the end of the episode, there was a small teaser of a pair of legs with a cape hanging behind them that was like walking towards Fennec's still body. And I believe she's dead, but it may be nothing. It might just be a flesh wound. I don't know how blasters work in the Star Wars universe. But this pair of legs, which I don't think were PewDiePie's, this pair of legs were walking towards it, and then the camera never pans up beyond the shins, so there's no indication as to who or what this person is. I'm guessing it might be the main bad guy. Maybe it's Boba Fett. But then the episode finished there. So I really liked episode 5. It was very well paced, lots of great action, and DeLorean's deadpan responses, like I said, were very much like Batman. Really, really great. Just one-liners from him. And that shot of Toro waiting with Fennec was very, very gorgeous. I really liked that shot. It was really, really cool shot. And another thing was that watching Yodelay walking down the ship's ramp filled me with just blind rage, because it was so goddamn cute, and yet I could not pick it up. I couldn't pick it up because Disney has dropped the ball on that Yodelay merch. It's like, what are you? Are you new? You can't be new at this. Like, why isn't there any licensed Yodelay merch for sale for Christmas? Like, come on. Get your act together, and I swear that every time I see Yodelay taking those tiny steps and looking around at the world, I turn into an anime fangirl, and I'm like, Yodelay, kawaii desu ne, densetsu no cutie. It's just so goddamn cute. And then Sedaris did pick him up, and my rage turned to just volcanic jealousy. And I hated Strangers with Candy, and I hated BoJack, and I hated everything she was ever involved in, because, she gets to hold Yodelay and I don't. So, I don't care. Hate. But, besides my Yodelay thirst, I was pleasantly surprised to see that Dave Filoni wrote and directed this episode. Yes, the same Dave Filoni who directed the so boring episode 1. It's like, wow. Talk about a turnaround. Now, so is this the beginning of a redemption arc for him and the series? Now, I hope so, because this episode 5 was very, 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 very well done. But there's only 3 episodes left, so we'll see if it can finish on a very, very high note. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you like to like and subscribe to things. And remember, even if your name is Toro, if you mess with the Mandalorian, it's you who'll get the horns. So cheesy. All right, see ya.